Imagine standing next to your country's supreme leader as billions of dollars worth of naval technology starts sliding into the water. Now imagine watching in horror as that same warship gets stuck halfway, tips sideways, and ends up lying on its side in the harbor. That's exactly what happened to Kim Jong Un this week, and the fallout has been explosive. This isn't just about a ship launch gone wrong. This is about North Korea's most ambitious military project turning into their most embarrassing public failure. And the story of how it happened reveals something fascinating about what's really going on inside the Hermit Kingdom. Picture this scene from Wednesday morning in Chongjin, North Korea's northeastern port city. Hundreds of military officials, shipyard workers, and specially invited guests have gathered for what should have been a triumphant moment. The country's second advanced destroyer, a 5,000-ton warship designed to carry nuclear weapons, sits on the shipyard's quay. Kim Jong Un himself is there, ready to witness another milestone in his plan to transform North Korea into a naval power. But something goes catastrophically wrong. As the massive ship begins its sideways slide into the water, the stern section breaks free and slides down first. But here's the critical part. The bow doesn't follow. It stays stuck on the slipway. The transport cradle system fails completely. With the stern in the water and the bow still on land, physics takes over. The ship loses balance, tips to one side, and ends up lying on its side in the harbor, partially submerged. The satellite images that emerge days later show the full extent of the disaster. The destroyer is lying on its side in the water, covered in blue tarps. The stern is in the harbor, while the bow remains stranded on the shipway. It's like a beached whale, except this whale cost hundreds of millions of dollars and was supposed to carry nuclear missiles. Kim Jong Un's reaction was immediate and furious. According to North Korean state media, he called it a criminal act caused by absolute carelessness, irresponsibility, and unscientific empiricism. He said it brought the dignity and self-respect of the state to a collapse in a moment. Think about that. This is a leader who almost never admits failure publicly, and here he is, essentially admitting to a national embarrassment. Within hours, the arrests began. 3 shipyard officials were detained: the chief engineer, the head of the hull construction workshop, and the deputy manager for administrative affairs. The shipyard manager was summoned for questioning. Kim demanded the ship be repaired before the late June meeting of the Workers' Party, calling it not just a practical issue, but a political one directly related to the authority of the state. But here's what makes this story even more revealing. Just a month earlier, North Korea had successfully launched its first destroyer of this class, the Choi-hyun. That launch went perfectly, using a floating dry dock at the Nampo shipyard on the west coast. State media showed Kim Jong Un beaming with pride as the ship entered the water. His daughter was there. Top military officials celebrated. It was supposed to mark North Korea's entry into the club of nations with modern naval forces. So why did this second launch fail so spectacularly? The answer reveals the dangerous gap between North Korea's ambitions and their actual capabilities. The Chongjin shipyard, unlike Nampo, doesn't have a floating dry dock or a proper slipway for launching large vessels. So they decided to use what's called a side launch, or sideways launch method. Basically, you build the ship parallel to the water, then slide it sideways off the quay. It's a legitimate technique that's been used for centuries, but it requires extreme precision. During a side launch, the entire ship needs to slide as one unit. Multiple support cradles, called bogies, must move in perfect synchronization along rails. If one section moves faster than another, if the weight distribution is off, if the calculations are wrong, disaster. And that's exactly what happened. The official North Korean report admitted that the launch slide of the stern departed first, and the flat car failed to move in parallel. What makes this even more embarrassing is that the Chongjin shipyard had never built warships of this size before. They mostly produced cargo vessels, fishing boats, and small patrol craft. Suddenly, they're tasked with launching a 5,000-ton destroyer loaded with weapon systems using a method they'd apparently never properly tested for military vessels. Naval experts who analyze the incident point out another crucial factor. When you're launching a warship sideways, you're dealing with different physics than with a cargo ship. Warships have heavy weapons systems, radar equipment, missile launchers, all creating unique weight distributions. The Chongjin shipyard team either didn't account for this or made critical calculation errors. The damage to the ship is severe. While North Korean state media initially claimed it was just scratches on the hull and some water in the stern section, saying repairs would take about 10 days, the satellite images tell a different story. Maritime experts looking at the images say when a ship of this size ends up on its side with the bow stuck on land and the stern in water, you're looking at potential catastrophic structural damage. The hull could be cracked or warped. The keel, essentially the ship's backbone, might be damaged. Internal systems are likely flooded. Electronic equipment, weapon systems, engines, all potentially compromised. And here's the real problem. North Korea doesn't have a dry dock facility capable of handling a damaged 5,000-ton vessel. They'd need to somehow right the ship, get it fully into the water or fully onto land, and then assess the damage. Some experts from the Center for Strategic and International Studies concluded the ship will not be entering service anytime soon and may ultimately prove to be a complete loss. Even South Korean military analysts, who tend to be more conservative in their assessments, say repairs could take 4 to 5 months at minimum, and that's assuming the ship can be salvaged at all. The human cost is already mounting. In North Korea's system, when Kim Jong Un calls something a criminal act, careers end and lives are destroyed. The 3 arrested officials face an uncertain future. The investigation is expanding, and everyone involved in the project knows they're under scrutiny. But beyond the immediate fallout, this incident reveals something profound about North Korea's military modernization efforts. They're trying to leap from operating a coastal defense force with small patrol boats to building a blue water navy with advanced destroyers. They want to go from reverse engineering 1960s technology to producing modern warships that can compete with South Korea, Japan, and the United States. These destroyers aren't just big ships. They're floating weapons platforms designed to carry vertical launch systems with potentially nuclear-armed missiles. The first destroyer, the Choi-hyun, reportedly can carry about 80 missiles. It has anti-aircraft, anti-ship, anti-submarine capabilities. On paper, it's a formidable warship, but building such vessels requires more than blueprints and ambition. Some military analysts believe Russia has been providing assistance with these destroyer projects, part of the growing cooperation since the Ukraine invasion. But even with foreign help, you can't overcome basic infrastructure limitations and lack of experience. Building modern warships is one of the most complex manufacturing challenges in the world. It requires specialized facilities, experienced engineers, rigorous quality control, and extensive testing. The propaganda damage might be worse than the physical damage. These destroyer launches were choreographed events designed to project strength. The first launch in April was timed for the military's founding anniversary. Kim Jong Un gave speeches about building a powerful navy. State media showed the destroyer conducting missile tests. The message was clear: North Korea is a rising naval power. Now, that narrative has literally tipped over. Instead of demonstrating advanced capabilities, they've shown the world they can't even launch a ship properly. Satellites captured everything. The images spread across defense forums and news sites. Military analysts are discussing North Korean incompetence rather than North Korean threats. Within hours of the accident, North Korea test-fired several cruise missiles, likely trying to shift attention and demonstrate that their military is still functional. But you can't distract from a capsized destroyer. It's too big, too visible, and too symbolic of larger problems. For Kim Jong Un personally, this represents a significant blow. He staked his legitimacy on military modernization. While his people face economic hardship, he's poured resources into prestige weapons projects. He's made bold promises about building nuclear submarines and aircraft carriers. And now, in front of hundreds of witnesses, one of his prize projects has failed spectacularly. This incident also raises uncomfortable questions about North Korea's other military programs. If they can't manage the relatively straightforward process of launching a ship, what does that say about their claims of developing hypersonic missiles, their nuclear weapons miniaturization, their space program? Are these capabilities real, or are they built on similarly shaky foundations? The international implications are significant. South Korea operates 12 modern destroyers. Japan has one of the most advanced navies in the world. Even if North Korea's destroyer project was successful, they'd still be vastly outmatched. But this failure suggests the gap is even wider than anyone imagined. What happens next will be telling. Kim Jong Un has demanded repairs by late June, which experts say is impossible given the damage. North Korea might try to claim the ship is repaired while keeping it hidden. They might quietly abandon it and focus on building a third destroyer with lessons learned. Or they might double down, pouring even more resources into naval projects to prove they can succeed. What do you think this means for North Korea's military credibility? Can they